Ondo Finance controls 19 of the top 20 tokenized stocks on the Ethereum chain. They just launched a cooperation with Deutsche Börse to have regulated trading. So what's happening with the price? Nothing. The market is flat. Is this potentially an opportunity? Let's have a look at the data most people are not considering. We've also got technical development. For example, tokenized shares now also include voting rights. So Ondo is clearly building the bridge between traditional finance and crypto, yet the price has done nothing in the last weeks. And here's one of the major reasons, the major headwind for the Ondo price, and that is tokenomics. It's token unlocks. Over time, the team and early investors, they get more Ondo tokens allocated. There is an unlock every single year, but of course the selling doesn't happen all at once. The selling happens smoothly over the year. Hi, my name is Gerhard. I've been in crypto for the last 8 years and I started this channel 5 years ago. 3 years ago, I hit my first million, and in this video, I want to share the data that I look at in order to beat the market. On average, over the last 5 years, I have outperformed buying and holding Bitcoin by on average 2% per month. That's then how that looks like over time, and when we then have additional contributions to the portfolio, that's the portfolio line. We started a copy trading pool last year, so that's when the premium members of this channel made money while Bitcoin lost. That's the average gain per premium member, and over here is this year's copy trading pool. Again, we are on the way of hitting our target of generating 40% per annum. Now the situation with Ondo Finance is interesting because some people already see it as a win that there is comparatively less selling pressure in the last 3 days. But how much of a win is this really when long term the selling pressure clearly outweighs the demand? This is Ondo in US dollars. Here is Ondo Finance relative to the rest of the altcoin market. Since we went out of the sideways trading range, there is a clear downtrend. And here's Ondo Finance relative to Bitcoin. Since the end of 2024 to today, Ondo Finance underperformed by more than 80%. And that's fundamentally the issue because there's so much correlation within crypto, right? When Bitcoin goes up, then most altcoins go up as well. When Bitcoin goes down, most altcoins go down. So really, the investments are competing against one another. We have to look at outperformance. If we just want crypto exposure, we might as well buy Bitcoin. But if we take a step further, if we go one further step towards adding risk, we should get that risk compensated, but that's not true for Ondo Finance. At least it hasn't been true for the last 1.5 years. And that's all happening while the TVL, the total value locked on Ondo Finance, is going up. So there is more and more capital in the platform. But the issue again is tokenomics. This TVL does not directly translate into price appreciation. Isn't it interesting how the market cap of the Ondo token is 1.3 billion while the TVL is at 3.5 billion. So there's simply not enough utility around the Ondo token that warrants higher prices. Let's have a look at the on-chain metrics because they actually look quite bullish as well. When we look at the number of holders, the number of retail investors, the number of whale investors, there are interesting trends. On-chain, we've got 189,000 holders. Now on the left side, we see the number of holders with 4,000 tokens. At the current price, that's roughly $1,000 worth of the token. That's what I'd consider the retail investor. In the middle, it's $10,000 worth of the token. On the right, it's $100,000 worth of the token. That's what I'd consider the whale. We can clearly see how the number of retail investors tends to grow over time, but that growth is not outpacing the selling pressure by the team. We can also see how the whales aren't necessarily as optimistic. The bigger the wallet size, the less steady this upward trend looks. But most trading volume does not happen on the spot market. We had 11 million on KuCoin in the last 24 hours. On the perpetual futures, we had almost 200 million. So we should look at the bets on the price at the perpetual futures. The funding rate is relatively neutral, so the market in aggregate is not very bullish or very bearish. The amount of bets on the Ondo price is rather low, so that's the open interest. It's currently at below 100 million. And again, again, the market cap of Ondo Finance is above 1 billion. So very little speculative interest, and that's potentially a chance, because whenever open interest goes up, we also tend to have a high spot price. When then open interest falls, we tend to have a lower spot price. So if open interest can recover, this would very likely push up the price as well. The same is true, by the way, for the spot price relative to the trading volume. More attention, more trading volume tends to also lead to higher spot prices. The fundamental problem though is of course the long-term underperformance versus Bitcoin. But maybe we can time this a little bit. Maybe we can use a moving average to try to figure out when to enter and when to exit Ondo Finance. So the idea is that we just follow the trend. Whenever the price is above the moving average, we buy. Whenever it's below, we sell, or we bet on falling prices. How well would such a strategy work? The answer is it works quite well. So what we see here on the x-axis, that's the moving average duration. What we see on the y-axis, that's the annualized performance. So this is a back test. This is a simulation of buying and selling the Ondo token. The very best moving average is over here. It's a 61-day simple moving average. But what I find fascinating here is that the vast majority of back tests tends to outperform buying and holding. Buying and holding is here, this dotted line. So let's have a look at the 61-day simple moving average and its performance over time. Buying and holding again generated losses. Trading according to that moving average generated gains, 66% per annum. Those gains are also quite constant. So this is how that looks like over time. We enter, we exit. So we bet on falling prices, on rising prices, and this is then the strategy's equity. Now, given this chart, this relative valuation of Ondo to Bitcoin, it's a very hard case to actually try to find a buying opportunity here. I think it's better to just have the trend on our side. And so my plan for Ondo Finance is to wait until we go above the moving average again, the 61-day simple moving average. And then once we are above, looking for a short opportunity. I want to bet on falling prices in a trend that tends to go down over time. And historically, that approach worked very well, right? Those are the red circles. We just look for a bearish signal and then we enter the short. Then we bet on falling prices. And that's my plan for Ondo Finance. I'm not trying to buy a falling knife. I'm not trying to buy a very bearish trend. I'm getting dumped on by all the insiders. I think it's better to just be on the side of the insiders. When the insiders are cashing out and they dump on retail, I want to be on the side of the insiders and not of the retail investor that still long-term is bullish. Yes, the platform is getting used more over time, but this does not necessarily mean rising prices for the Ondo token. And so that's in general my approach, right? I try to look at altcoins that underperform, which luckily enough is the vast majority most of the time. And then I just bet on the delta versus Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Solana. So we go long Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, we go short all the inflating altcoins, and we make money with that delta. That's how the performance of the copy trading pools is generated. If you want to join the copy trading pool, feel free to check out the premium membership. 44% per annum is our target. That's what we achieved last year. That's what we are on track to achieve this year as well. But you can also just manually copy trade my signals. That's for all the monthly members. The automatic copy trading is only for the annual subscribers. But you can just play around with the strategy first, see if it works for you. And I'm even going a step further. Once you sign up, I will send you a direct message with my preferred trade, with the trade that I think has a very high likelihood of making money over the course of the next months. If you don't make money after 1 month of holding that position, I will simply refund the membership to you. So yeah, be careful out there. Don't try to pick the few winners in a sea of losers. Better be on the side with all the insiders that dump all the time and make money with those falling prices. And unfortunately, there's no difference with Ondo Finance. I think the likelihood of this over the long term to continue to bleed versus Bitcoin is quite high. If it's your first time here, feel free to subscribe. I publish here regularly. A like would be very much appreciated as well. See you next time on YouTube or see you on Premium. Link to Premium pops up here on the screen. See you next time. Cheers.